So we all love sowing seeds. Excuse the pun. However, sometimes we get it really wrong and germination doesn't even take place. Most importantly, what I want to show you today is the mix, which is all important, and then a couple of hints and tips along the way as what we need to do to get it right. What I'm delighted about is the new Garden Master Germination mix. Now, taking a closer look at it, number one, it's light, okay? It's very, very lightweight. I can see in here that there is some vermiculite. Vermiculite are those little shiny bits that look like stars in here, almost like gold dust. That's the vermiculite, and vermiculite has amazing water holding capacity. And of course, in seed sowing and in germination, more importantly, water is the most important thing, water and light. And if they dry out, if our seeds dry out, that's when things go south. Now, taking a further look in here, I can also see that there's cocoa peat. We know that cocoa peat has the ability as well to hold moisture when the plant or the seed needs it most. There's also very fine bark that's been sifted and added into here. So that's the organic material. So all in all, a product that really is going to stimulate germination and root development. And of course, that's what we want. The faster seeds germinate and send down that first root, the better the plant is going to cope in its adult life with diseases, fruit bearing, and resistance. So for me, what's exciting is that in terms of the Garden Master range, there's a product for a purpose. And if we get that right and we start getting the basics right, well, we know that our gardening journey is going to be so much more successful. Folks, when it comes to seed sowing, there are a couple of things that we're gonna need. A tray, all right, for those that need to be sown, what it says in a tray, and it actually tells you on the back of the packet. It tells you that you can either sow them directly or that you can then sow them into a tray. So either germination tray, or I've got this here, which basically are 20 little pots. It's a germination pot mix. 20 of these little guys, which fit into a little holder. What is important to note is that there are no holes in here. The holes are in these little pots. So it almost acts as a little well in case you forget to water one day. Of course, other options are as follows. You get these little molded coir pots, which I just love. And then there are these little trays, which are exactly the same, except they have got the little cavities. So this would be if you're wanting to sow 6 little beans or plants or seeds that need individual little cavities. From an aspect of seeds, guys, it doesn't matter who the brand is. What is most important is that you follow the instructions, because all of the instructions from time, sowing season, in other words, do they need semi-shade or shade? How far apart they need to be planted in their final spacing? And do you sow them into trays or individual little pots, or do you directly sow them? It also tells you the germination, how quickly it's going to take to germinate. Let's show you how to do it. I'm going to be using one of these little trays, and guys, very, very simply, I just pop it here into my trug and a good few handfuls in. Then I take this little gadget. What I'm going to do is take it and gently, in a circular motion, just get my level correct. And all this is just making sure I've got a good flat level surface to work on, because one of the critical things about seed sowing and germination in terms of the results that you have is about how deep we sow them or what we cover them with. Next, we're going to decide on what we're going to sow. Now, for me, a veggie garden is not complete without some tomatoes. And now, different ways of doing this, guys, different ways of doing this. Depending on your confidence and the steadiness of your hand, you can do it the following way. And I'll show you both ways to do it. Number one, tap a bit out and not a lot. You want to take one seed at a time. And I know this is a hack, guys, but you've got to do it because it makes the next step so much easier. So in it goes. There we go. And all we're going to do is place these approximately 2 centimeters apart. Next, that is very, very important, is covering. You need to cover the seeds. The act of covering the seeds protects them, and genetically, they are programmed that as soon as they are in contact and have had contact with soil and moisture is added, germination takes place. Now, with this, there are various ways of doing it. You can, of course, just simply sprinkle a bit on top. This layer should not be ever more than 2 to 3 millimeters, depending on the size of the seed. You're going to say to me, Tanya, that doesn't really make sense. Bigger seed needs to get sown deeper. The finer the seed, the thinner the covering layer is. Second to last thing we need to do, we take this little piece of wood and we're now going to firm it down. We have now kick-started the engine of this guy because we have put it in contact. Note that we have just firmed it down. And this germination mix, I think it's going to do the job perfectly. Last up, is your label. Remember, on the label, important things that we need. What did we have here? This is tomato. What is the variety? It's bite size. And importantly, what is the date? Pop it in. Last thing I need to do, give it a good watering. And I give it a real good soaking. And it's going to be soaking up into this beautiful germination mix. Right, at this point, we can take it, put it into a well-lit spot, somewhere that's going to get light, not direct sun. Another little gadget that you can use is one of these. It's called an unheated propagator. It's got little levers on here, which basically control your airflow. And it just speeds up germination because we are creating a little greenhouse effect in here. If you skip a day of watering, it's okay, because generally, once you have done your first watering and you're using a little germination tray like this, you do not need to then water again. But we've got another clip, especially on that, on the Builders YouTube channel. When sowing seed that is too fine and you're not confident enough to be able to get it equally spaced, then all I want you to do is this. Take your seeds, pop them into a little container that does not have holes. I want you to add a bit of your germination mix and then give it a good mix. In this way, what we've now done is we are mixing the seeds with our germination mix, which means that we can simply just apply it over our tray in the knowledge that they will be spaced and not on top of one another. Once you've mixed it, simply take a little bit and a gentle sprinkling across the tray. The final steps are just the same as the other seed sowing. Cover the seeds with germination mix, firm it down, and give it a good watering. Well, folks, that's the 101 on seed sowing using the Garden Master Germination Mix. Using the right product to get the best results is always so important. Remember, everything I've used here is available at your local builders, either in-store or online. Also, check out the blog where there's more inspirational videos, articles to turn you into a better, more successful gardener. Get to Builders and get it done.